And it's less than a week until the UAE's first unemployment insurance scheme rolls out. We've got a lawyer in this morning to take your questions, 4001, or use the free Messenger app or our WhatsApp number if you have any, because we are joined in the studio by Lisa Merod, who is an associate in Clyde & Co's employment department. Lisa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Brandy.
Do you want to just briefly remind us how the unemployment insurance scheme is going to work?
Yes, sure. So this unemployment insurance scheme is the first of its kind in the United Arab Emirates, which will be kicking in on the 1st of January 2023. The onus of subscribing to the unemployment insurance actually lies on the employee. So employees need to get themselves up to speed by the 1st of January 2023, because it will then be mandatory for them to comply with this requirement and take out an unemployment insurance. The unemployment insurance is priced based on the employee's basic salary. So employees having 16,000 dirhams basic salary or less will pay 5 dirhams a month for the unemployment insurance, and employees with more than 16,000 basic salary will pay 10 dirhams a month.
And what do I get for that?
You get, in case you will be unemployed, you get 60% of your salary for a period of a maximum of 3 months per claim. However, this compensation is kept at 10,000 dirhams per month, where you have paid 5 dirhams into the unemployment insurance scheme, so where your basic salary was 16,000 dirhams or less. And the compensation is kept at 20,000 dirhams, where you have paid 10 dirhams a month.
And it's mandatory?
Yes, it is actually mandatory. So the legislation says that if you are an employee in the private sector or even an employee in the government sector, you have to subscribe to the unemployment insurance scheme, and you have time to do it until end of June 2023.
Do we know what the penalties are for not?
Yeah, we know it. So the legislation is saying that if you're subscribing late, so you're subscribing later than end of June 2023, there's a penalty of 200 dirhams, but it seems to be a one-time penalty, which the ministry actually can deduct from the wages protection system. So they have the authority to directly deduct it from your salary. Where you don't subscribe to the unemployment insurance and it's picked up at the time of the renewal of your work permit, you pay a fine of 400 dirhams. And the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization has the authority to actually not renew your work permit.
Okay, so quite the incentive to do it then.
Exactly.
How do I register?
Well, there are a lot of insurance providers who are grouped under one overarching insurance company. You can access their website. You can subscribe via the website, but there are also a lot more channels than that. As we know, the UAE are always quite modern when it comes to subscribing to services. So you can subscribe via an ATM, you can subscribe via SMS, you can even subscribe via money exchange offices, but the subscriptions are not open yet, so you will still have to wait.
And this was one of the chats at the Boxing Day party I was at yesterday. People thinking, I need to get this organised, I need to get this done. But it's not until the 1st of January that you can start.
Yes, that's right. If you're accessing the website, you will see that they're announcing it, but they're actually also saying that you have to wait until the 1st of January 2023 until you're able to subscribe.
What do we know about how the money is going to be collected, the actual logistics of doing this?
Well, we know at the moment that there will be different schedules of payment. So you can decide basically if you want to pay monthly, if you want to pay once every 6 months, or if you want to pay the whole premium annually. And it seems, for example, if you're going to choose to subscribe via SMS, that the premium will be deducted from your phone bill, for example. Where you're going to subscribe via the ATM, it's our understanding that the money will basically deducted from your debit card with which you're accessing the ATM. So we have different channels of subscribing and different ways to pay the premium.
We're getting quite a few questions in for you, Lisa. If anyone does want to ask any legal questions, Lisa, about this, we have the text message system 4001. We have our free Messenger app. Richard, I'm going to presume that you know the WhatsApp number.
I do. I don't know it, but producer Isa has told me it. It is 04 871 5500.
Yeah, we might have to keep you for a few more minutes as well, Lisa, because they are coming in now thick and fast. How long do you need to have been in a job for to qualify for this protection?
Yeah, you need to have paid the premium for 12 months, so for 12 months continuously, which basically means you have to be employed in the UAE for 12 months, and then you get the 3 months per claim unemployment protection, either for the full 3 months or until you find a new job, whatever comes earlier.
Do you have to have been, I think this is what's being asked here, in the same job for 12 months?
No, it's not necessary that you have the same job. You just have to pay the premium for 12 months. So let's say you're with one employer for 4 months, then you change jobs and you're going to be with another employer for 8 months. But in total, you paid the premium for full 12 months. You will be eligible to receive compensation if your employment with the second employer ends.
Now, that employment ending has to be that you've been let go, am I right, rather than you've resigned?
Yeah, so the legislation says that you will not be entitled to receive compensation if you have resigned. That's one of the cases where you are not getting anything. The legislation mentions a second exclusion, which basically says if you are terminated for disciplinary reasons. At this point in time, there's no clarity what this actually means. I would say my interpretation is that it means that you were terminated with immediate effect, so one of the harshest reasons under the labor law, which would also exclude you from getting the premium. But there's no clarity on this kind of second exclusion that they call termination for disciplinary reasons.
Do you, as a lawyer, foresee potential disagreements here between employers and employees about why people are being let go if there's this buffer money at stake?
Yes, I really do, because there's one very large case of uncertainty for me at the moment. We often see employment relationships ending by way of a mutual agreement, so where both parties say, it doesn't make sense to work together anymore. Let's just have a settlement agreement and let's just end this here. And this is kind of one of the factors of uncertainty for me, because for employers, it always has a benefit to have this kind of settlement agreement, because you know where you are at the end of the employment relationship if you have such a document and if you have a mutual agreement. But the legislation is not clear whether you get the unemployment benefit if you have concluded a settlement agreement. So I would say fear at the moment with this scheme is that it will be harder for employers to reach a kind of mutual exit, because employees will be fond to be terminated in order to get the compensation benefits under the unemployment insurance instead of reaching a mutual exit.
I'm just going to run through those that we are getting in this morning. Two sides of the employer coin here. We've got someone messaging in saying, do employers have to pay into this scheme?
So employers don't have to pay anything for that scheme. It's the employee who actually needs to take out the insurance and also needs to pay the premium. However, it is the employer's obligation to explain this to employees. So the legislation says that employers should ensure that employees know about their obligation to subscribe to the unemployment insurance scheme.
And on the other side, I've got someone asking, can employers pay the premium for their employees?
Well, yes, employers can pay the premium, but employers won't be able to pay the premium directly to the insurance company because it's a personal insurance in the employee's name. However, of course, you can introduce a kind of unemployment allowance, let's say, into your employment contract where you pay 5 or 10 dirhams in addition to their salary per month, which would then cover the premium for the unemployment insurance.
We've got a number of people asking about the basic salary that this is calculated on and what counts as your basic salary.
The premium for the unemployment insurance is calculated on the basis of the basic salary that's set out in your employment contract. Usually we will see a split of salary in employment contracts, usually into basic salary, which should be the biggest part of your salary. Then we sometimes see allowances such as housing allowance or transportation allowance. So employees should check the latest copy of their employment contract that they have, and there they will see the basic salary. If there's no split into basic salary and allowances, the entire salary as shown in the employment contract will be regarded as basic salary. And the amount of basic salary that counts it's either 16,000 basic salary or less, then you pay 5 dirhams premium per month, or it's more than 16,000 dirhams basic salary, in which case you will be paying 10 dirhams premium per month.
We've got a question about what happens with temporary contracts. Someone's saying, what is this based on, either the work permit or the contract with your employer? They say, I've got a 6-month temporary contract, but my work permit is for 2 years.
So in such a case, if your work permit is for 2 years and you have a different contract that has been concluded for 6 months, it might be the case that you have also concluded another employment contract that's registered with the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization. So it would be prudent to talk to your employer and have the records check in order to get a copy of the ministry contract, so you can see which basic salary has been included into the ministry contract, because very likely this is what the insurance companies will take as a basis. So they might not look at your 6 months temporary contract. They rather look at the documentation that is registered with the Ministry of Human Resources. So my advice would be to talk to your employer and get copies of your latest contract.
We've also got someone saying, what if you are self-employed but you pay yourself a wage?
Well, the unemployment insurance has some exceptions. So whilst it applies to all employees in the private sector and the government sector in the UAE, it does not apply to business owners working in their own company. So if you own a business and you kind of work for yourself, you are exempt to pay unemployment insurance contributions. And there are further exemptions, such as, for example, for domestic workers, juveniles under the age of 18, and retirees who took on a new employment in the UAE. So if you're already above the retirement age, you also don't have to pay for your unemployment insurance.
I've got someone asking, are you still covered? Do you still count if you are in the trial period, the probation period of your employment?
Yes, so you have a certain deadline to subscribe to the unemployment insurance scheme. So if you take on new employment, they give you 4 months' time from the issuance of your work permit to take out the unemployment insurance. However, usually we see that probation periods in the UAE are 6 months. This is what I see, at least on a daily basis. So you might have to take out the unemployment insurance before the expiry of your probationary period, if your probationary period is 6 months, because you only have the 4 months time to do that.
What this question is asking as well, though, is if you are let go at the end of your probationary period, if it doesn't work out, are you covered by the scheme? Will you get the money?
Well, since the scheme will newly be introduced at the beginning of January, and one condition to get the benefit is that you must have paid the premium for at least 12 months, it is likely that you won't get the benefit if you're now taking out a new employment and you will not have paid 12 months of premiums into the unemployment insurance scheme.
But going forward, once we have had this
Yes, once you have paid for at least 12 months continuously, you will also get it if you are let go during probation. This is not an exemption that's mentioned in the legislation.
Super quickly, free zones as well. What about the DIFC?
This is something that's not very clear at the moment. So the legislation refers to private sector, which is very broad and which would include all the free zones as well. We have spoken to some of the free zones, and it seems that for them it's also a bit unclear at this point in time. So when it comes to free zone, it's a kind of watch this space at the moment. We'll have to wait and see what the free zones are going to announce, whether they are following the Ministry of Human Resources. From the legislation itself, it seems that it also applies to free zones.
Thank you so much for staying with us for 2 sessions this morning. Lisa Merod is the associate we've been speaking to this morning from Clyde and Co, from their employment department, speaking to us about the UAE's unemployment insurance scheme, which rolls out on the 1st.
Dubai Eye 103.8.
Join the conversation.